please don't get into the mindset and think, if I'm using points from my credit card, that means it's free. If it's free, it must be a good deal. That's what they want you to think. I spent over $1 million on credit cards in just 1 year. Let my experience help you get out of debt and use credit cards to your advantage. Now let's get into this video. I'm going to explain the Marriott Bonvoy card and exactly how you can determine if you're getting a good value for your points. A lot of these cards, whether it be points or miles, they have ways in which you redeem them, and sometimes it's to your benefit and sometimes it's not. But what I like to always do, and I have other videos on this, is try to equate things to 2%. The reason is there are quite a few cashback cards out there now that provide 2% cash back. So you should be getting at least a 2% value off of your miles or points. Otherwise, you might as well just use a cashback card. So we're always trying to achieve more than 2%. So let me explain, and I'm going to show you in a moment the Marriott Bonvoy site, and I'm going to walk through exactly how you can do it. So when you look to redeem miles, you'll know how to do it and how to make sure you're getting a good value. First, I'm going to throw it up on the whiteboard, and we're going to look at two different examples. One of them, and what's good to do is when you're looking at the site, there's a button you click, and I'll show you it in a moment, and it'll tell you the dollar value, how much it costs if you just want to pay for the room in cash, versus the points, how many points they're going to charge you. So two examples here of the two different types of Bonvoy cards. Their cards allow you to earn points in many different categories. But there's a catch-all category, and that's where the majority of your purchases will land. So I always look at the catch-all. And then most of their cards either have 1 point per dollar spent. So you spend $1,000, you earn 1,000 points. But the good ones are 2 points for every dollar spent. And you'll see after I do this that the 1 point category is not very useful. You got to get one of the cards with 2 points per dollar spent. So you spend $1,000 and you get 2,000 points. Let me show you why. You're going to see in a moment as I go through the site that they've got a room for $157. And I'll show you exactly how I do that. Or it's 37,000 of your points. Now, if you got 1 point per dollar spent, you would have had to spend $37,000 to get this many points. If you got 2 points per dollar spent, you would only have had to have spent half that amount, which is $18,500. Let's first look at the situation where you're using what I call the 1X card, 1 point per dollar spent in their catch-all category. All you have to do for every single one of these is just divide this way. You take the dollar amount, they want $157, or they want 37,000 points. And you divide, and you're going to get 0.004. Okay, so when you divided, you got 0.004. What does that mean? Well, if you got 1 cent, it would be 0.01. So that means that you're getting half a cent. I like to use what I call the 1 cent rule, where 1 cent equals 1%. 2 cents equals 2%. So in this case, you're getting half of a cent. So that's only essentially 0.5%. You're not even getting a 1% value. So you would have been better off using a cash card and getting cash back than you would with this. So you're not even getting 1% in value. So that's not a good deal. Second option, if you're using the 2X card, here's what you do. The room, as you'll see, is 37,000 points. You got 2 points per dollar spent. So first you take your 37,000 and you divide by 2. You're going to get 18,500. Now you take the room at $157. You divide by 18,500. What do you get? You get 0.008. So on the card, the 2X card that gives you 2 points for every dollar spent, you're getting 0.008. 0.008. Remember, 0.01 is a cent. You're not even getting 1 cent. So again, this is like 0.5% cash back. That's the equivalency. This is the equivalency of 0.8% cash back, not even 1%. So neither of these are very good. I'll show you another example as I scroll down through the website of how I quickly look and see what is a good value and how you can eyeball it. You'll see in a moment I'm going to show you another example here. So here's the next example. You'll see in a moment as I scroll through that I was able to find one that's pretty close to dollars versus points. It's $119 for the room, 11,500 points. So all you have to do again is you're just going to divide the dollar value, $119, by the points, and you're going to end up with 0.01. So this one, if you're using the card, $1 equals 1 mile. I'm sorry. If you're using the card, $1 equals 1 point, you're going to end up with a 1%. Okay, not terrible. That means that if you're trying to equate it to a cashback card, it's like having a 1% cashback card. Not terrible. Again, prefer to get 2%. Now, if you're using, this is their 1X card, you got 1 point for every dollar spent. This is their 2X card example. All you do is you take the points, you divide by 2, 57.50. 11,500 divided by 2, because you got 2 points per dollar. So you take $119, same thing, divide it by the points, 57.50. You're going to get 0.02. And that is, of course, 2%. So now we actually found a room where you're going to receive the equivalent of 2% cash back. That's a room that's worth booking using your points, because it's the same as if you would have had a cashback card. Now, there are times when you might be able to get more than 2%. And I'm going to show you another example, because they do this thing where you can actually use points and dollars. They try to do that to confuse you. It's not as confusing as you think. It's quite simple. Let me show you.
Thanks for watching. Take a moment to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future videos, and hit that like button as well. It really helps the channel out and helps the video spread to more people. Thanks for watching.
Okay, last example, and then I'll show you the actual Bonvoy site. They have a room, and you'll see, they say, you know what? You can use cash and points. And you're like, great, even more confusing. $55, give us $55 cash, and give us 5,750 of your points. How in the world do you figure this out? You'll see that the room price is $119. So they're saying, give us either $119 or give us 55 in points. And you're saying, okay, is that a good value or not? Here's how you do it. Take the 119 minus the 55, because you're going to hand them 55 in cash. You're left with 64, which means they're saying you can make up the $64 by giving them 5,750 points. So that's what we need to figure out. So what do? We do $64 divided by 57.50. And it's 0.011, which is 1.1%, because it's 1.1 cents. Now, that's if you were using the 1X card. If you're using the 2X card, remember you divide that in half. You divide 57.50 in half, and you get 28.75. So let's do this. Make it simple. You're getting 28.75 because you're using the card that gives you 2 points for every dollar spent. So you take the points and divide by 2. 57.50 divided by 2 is going to give you 28.75. So now we're looking at the $64 costing us 28.75 points. We divide, we get 0.022, which is 2.2%. That is the best we've seen so far. So what is this saying? It's saying that you're going to hand them $55 in cash, and you're going to give them 57.50 points, which is the equivalent of as if you got 2.2%. So if you have a cashback card and it's giving you 2% cash back, this deal is going to allow you to get 2.2% cash back. So you would have had to have spent $2,875 on your card, which would have given you this many points. And they're saying, we're going to give you a value of 2.2%. It's as if you had a cashback card giving you 2.2%. That is a good deal, and that's something that's worth doing, especially if you don't have enough points. They do this because sometimes people don't have enough points to just pay $20,000 or $30,000. So in this case, if you've got this many points, 5,750, you can pay for at least half of the room. So here, we've done the math, and this particular one is going to give you a better value than the other two. Now, the video I'm about to show you is me going through the website as if you were to log in and see exactly how this works using the same examples. I hope this helps.
So I just showed you on the whiteboard the math behind the points and dollars and how to convert back and forth to determine what value you're getting. Now let's take a look. Once you actually log into the Marriott Bonvoy site, I chose a destination, Morgantown, West Virginia, check in one day, check out the next day. It's a one-night stay, 2 guests, so it's just 1 room, 1 night. I said, give me the lowest rates, and I want to use points or certificates. But basically, by checking this box, they're not just going to show me the dollar value, they're going to show me the point value. That's what you want to do, so you can determine whether or not you're getting a good value for your points. If you're not getting a good value, don't use them until you can. So in this case, the first one that came up, that's what I showed on the board, was 37,000 points, $161 a night. So I'm going to go ahead and click into this one so that we can see exactly what they're asking. So on this one, what they show you is they give you multiple options here. They have some packages, they have their regular rates, and here is the special rate. So the best rate you can get is $157 a night, or 37,000 points. Here you go, 37,000 points, you're going to get a room with 2 beds. Perfect. Now, what does that actually mean? How do we convert? So just as I showed on the whiteboard, you take your 157, you divide it by 37,000, it ends up being 0.004. 0.01 is a cent, so 0.004 is less than half a cent, which means you're getting less than 0.5%. If you're using the Bonvoy card that gives you 1 point for dollar spent, that would means that to get those 37,000 points, you would have had to have spent $37,000. If you're using the card, and it's the only card I actually recommend you use, is where you get 2 points per dollar spent. And I'm talking about the catch-all category where it's everything, no matter what you buy, you can get more per point. I mean, I know that you can get more points per dollar in various categories, but they're catch-all, which is where the majority of your spend is going to end up. You're going to get 2 points on their 2X card in all categories. So you take your 37,000, you divide it by 2, and that comes out to be 18,500. So now you take your 157 divided by 18,500, and you end up with 0.008. Again, 0.01 is a cent, which is essentially 1%. So 0.008 is not yet 1%. So by using your points for this particular hotel, it doesn't make sense. You might as well just pay the 157 a night. Why do I say it doesn't make sense? You might say, well, I'm using 37,000 points, therefore it's free. I'm using my points, it's free. It's a good deal. Well, not necessarily. If you're going to spend $18,500 on your card, that can take some people quite a while. And then what value are you getting back? Well, by using that card, if you get this room, you wouldn't even have gotten 1% back. In other words, you'd be better off using a credit card that gave you 1% back when you spent your $18,500, because you'd have $185. So let's go back and let's take a look at another room. And you can just eyeball it, 37,161. So just know that if you're getting 1% back, it's basically 16,100 points. You multiply by 100. So 16,100 is nowhere near that. We got to get something that's close. 28,000, 13,200. Nope. This is closer. 16,000, 13,700. Okay, closer. Getting closer. Getting even closer. Here you go. 11,500 points, or $119. Multiply that by 100, 11,900. That's almost a 1-for-1. Let's take a look, see what I mean. So notice what they've done on this particular one. They have multiple rates. 3 of them have dollar values. 1 has a point value. They also give you 2 options for the room here. And it doesn't matter in this particular case. Both of these rooms are the same. But you can use points and give them money, or you can just use points. Let's do both. If you just use points, the cheapest you can get is right here, $119. We're going to compare that to 11,500 points. So we take our 119 divided by 11,500, and you're getting 0.01, which is 1%. So if you're using the Marriott card that gives you 1 point per dollar spent, you're trying to get 1% or 2%, the value you're going to get is 1%. So not phenomenal, but decent. Now, you would be better off just using a card that gave you 2% cash back. So we don't want to use that one either. At least I never do. Now, if you're using the card that gives you 2 points per dollar spent, then you take the 11,500 and you divide it by 2. Why are you doing that? Because what that means is you didn't have to spend, in order to get 11,500 points, if you're getting 1 point per dollar, you'd have to spend $11,500 on your card and you would get 11,500 points. If you're getting 2 points per dollar spent, divide this by 2. You would only have to have spent $5,750 to get your 11,500 points. So we're going to divide this by 2, which is 5,750. So you take your 119, the lowest rate, divided by 5,750. You're going to end up at 0.02, which is 2%. So that means the value you're getting is equivalent to as if you had a cash card giving you 2%. So when I use a points card or a miles card, I always want to get 2% or higher. Otherwise, I might as well just have used my cashback card. So in this case, you're actually getting 2%. So this is a decent one. This is one you might want to use. Then let's just, so you understand how it works, let's just look at the points as well as the dollars and see how you would figure that out. Like I showed on the whiteboard, but I'll show it here again, $119. You're going to pay them $55, okay? So 119 minus 55, and that's $64. So they're saying that to make up that $64, you're going to give them these points, 5750. So it's 64 divided by 5750, just like we always do. It's 0.011. That's 1%. If you're using the card that gives you 1 point per dollar spent. If you're using the card that gives you 2 points per dollar spent, you divide this in half, and then you do the division, and that ends up being 0.022. So you're getting 2.2%. So if you just use your points, you're getting a 2% value. If you want to give them a little money, maybe you don't have enough points, you're still getting a 2.2% value. So both of those are equivalent to or slightly better than if you had used your credit card and gotten cash back. I hope this makes sense. I hope the whiteboard math helped you, because you can use that whenever you're applying it to one of these sites that gives you points or miles. With the Bonvoy one, I find it a little harder to find good deals, but they are available. And by good deal, I mean I want to get 2% or more back. If it's less, like we showed some of these rooms only giving you 1%, then it's really not worth it, because you're giving up opportunity cost. You could have just used a 2% card, gotten cash, and paid for the room, and you'd be better off.
So now you just saw the video showing exactly how you log into the Bonvoy website. You look for wherever it is that you're traveling. That's simple. We're all used to doing it. You can go to various hotel sites, travel sites, whatever. You put in where you're going, how many people, how long you want to stay, and then you click, most importantly, to make sure you can see how many points they're asking for the room. And you can also see how much they want in the dollar value. Do the math and divide, and you'll quickly know if you're getting a good value or not. So I hope that helps. Please keep that in mind. I've got another video that talks about this in more depth and walks through the math, but it's quite simple. And you can see once you log into the site, you'll quickly be able to eyeball, just by multiplying by 100, the points to the dollar value, the ratio. It'll become second nature. It's a pain at first, but once you get it, it's worth doing, because that way the sites will no longer take advantage of you and try to get you to give up points and only get a value of 0.5%, 1%, when you could have just been using a cash card all along. Why do I use point cards? I use point cards because I do the math and I try to get 2.5%, 3%, or 4% in value, which is as if I was getting a 3 or 4% cashback card. So it's definitely worth doing if you're willing to learn how it works so they don't take advantage of you. Thanks for watching. I hope this helps.